Hey friend, if you're planning a trip to Zion National Park, here are the 5 things you need to know before you go. My name is Ash. I'm a former park ranger and the founder of Dirt in My Shoes, and I am here to help make your Zion National Park trip amazing. So let's talk about the 5 things you'll want to know before you go, so that you can have a leg up as you plan your trip to this beautiful national park. The first thing that you want to know before visiting Zion is that Zion is extremely crowded. So you may have heard that the national parks are feeling really crowded, but I really feel like Zion takes it up to the next level. This park is pretty small and there are millions of people who visit every year. So your timing in Zion is everything. It matters what time you're trying to go through the entrance stations. It matters what time you're trying to find parking or catch the shuttle. And so having a good plan in this park makes a massive difference. Okay, so when I talk to people about their trip to Zion National Park, especially if they didn't use anything from Dirt in My Shoes to help them plan a trip, usually what I hear is that it just felt so crowded. It's beautiful, they love it, but it is really, really hard to love it when you're just bogged down by the crowds all day. So there are a few things that you can control if you're hoping to have a great trip to Zion National Park. The first thing is you don't want to be going through the entrance stations at the busiest times of day. I have been when I'm doing research for my itineraries and things like that, sometimes I'll go to the busiest places at the busiest times. And I mean, I've sat in an entrance station line for over an hour. It just gets so busy. And so there are certain times of day that you'll want to avoid those entrance stations. Finding parking. Parking in Zion is a huge challenge because a lot of the parking lots are small. There are certain areas of the park where you can't park your own car. You need to take the shuttle. And so the parking lots fill really fast. They fill really early. And then you're still having to figure out how to get around and still do things beyond those parking lots. So it can be a lot. It can be pretty overwhelming to know when to move your car and when to leave it there and either walk or take the shuttle. I don't want to scare you, but I do want to overemphasize how important it is you know how busy Zion National Park feels. Because you've got those millions of people all trying to get into a really small area, and you're taking the free shuttle, which is really nice, but it can get super crowded. The lines get really long. It's hard to find parking to even get in line to take the shuttle. And so I don't want to scare you, but I do want you to go in prepared, knowing that it is going to feel more crowded than probably most national parks you've been to. If you want my help navigating through this extremely busy national park, then I do have a Zion itinerary on Dirt in My Shoes for you to use. It will walk you through hour by hour when to be where, so that you have the best chance of avoiding those crowds. Number 2, Zion is fabulous year-round. So if I haven't scared you away with all the crowd talk, I'll give you a little bit of hope here. Zion is a great year-round national park. And so if you're not wanting to visit during the busiest times of the year, there are a lot of great options of times that you can go when you won't be bogged down by the crowds and when you will be able to find solitude really easily. And so let's talk about when I like to be in Zion and what you can do year-round. So Zion has a really long high season or main season. It typically runs from about March through October. And so it's really long. That's when you'll find all the people. People start filtering in as soon as like spring break starts, and they don't start to taper down until about mid-October. So if you're wanting to come during this time, just be aware this is the high season. This is when things will be crowded, but you will have some good weather, especially in like March and April and September and October. That is a really nice time to be there. You can hike in Zion all year. This park does get some snow during the winter, and so trails will get icy, especially up in the higher elevations. So if you're wanting to do Angel's Landing or Observation Point or something like that, then do expect to have some icy or snow-covered trails during those winter months. But if you're mostly planning on sightseeing through the main lower areas of the canyon, like if you're wanting to go to Emerald Pools or the Riverside Walk or the Parouse Trail, all of that typically stays pretty snow-free, and so you can go during those off-season months and still do a lot of hiking. Another thing to note is that the Zion Lodge and the roads through the park and the restaurants typically stay open year-round. You've also got the town of Springdale just right outside of the park's south entrance, and that will have lodging and dining options for you as well. And so although the area does quiet down a little bit during the off-season, there are still a lot of options of places that you can stay and things that you can do. If you have your heart set on hiking some of the more popular trails in the park, such as Angel's Landing or the Riverside Walk or Emerald Pools, do again just keep in mind that those can close down due to icy conditions or unsafe conditions during the winter, but they typically will stay open as much as they can. I have a whole article devoted to talking you through when the best time to visit Zion is. So you have my suggestions here, but then I'll also walk you through month by month what to expect, what will be open, what you need to know. So if you're hoping to make an off-season trip or you just want to see what each month will be like, then this is a really good resource for you. Number 3, book your lodging in advance. So Zion is really unique because typically when I'm giving advice, I don't really like to say, yes, you should stay in the park or no, you shouldn't. It doesn't really matter. A lot of times you can make it work either way. And Zion is that way. You can stay in the park. You can also just stay in Springdale if you want to, which is right outside the park. That's fine. But I have found that because this national park gets so busy, staying in the park actually gives you a huge advantage. Okay, so to help you get a better sense of what to expect when you go to Zion, here's the map. And basically what you have, so you have the town of Springdale right here, which is just right outside of the park. And then you've got the 2 park campgrounds, the main ones, Watchman and South, are just right here. So as you can see, they're super close to town. And then you've got the Zion Lodge, which is up in here. And this is the only lodge in the park. Now, why this is important is because this area here, the Zion Canyon Scenic Drive, is where the free shuttle runs, and this shuttle is mandatory for most of the year. So you can't bring your own vehicle up here. So what you typically do, and we'll talk about this shuttle a little bit more in a minute, but what you typically do is you park down in here, either in Springdale or at the visitor center, which is just right here, and you catch the shuttle from here and you take it up into here. Well, parking and the crowds down in this area, as you can imagine, are massive. And so what's nice is if you stay in the park, if you're at the South or the Watchman or at the Zion Lodge, you have a parking space. You can leave your car there and then you can just catch the shuttle from any of these locations. And so it cuts out a step. You're not having to find parking somewhere else so that you can catch the shuttle. You already have parking, which is a huge deal in Zion, actually. So you already have parking, so then you just catch the shuttle as needed. So it makes it really easy, and I find it just gives you such a huge advantage being able to see the park without getting stuck in the crowds. If you can't get anything in the park, which is a valid concern, it's really competitive, especially the campgrounds. But if you can't get anything in the park, then you can stay out in Springdale. It's a really great location. It's super close to the park entrance, but I would just encourage you to keep in mind that the closer you can get to the park entrance with your lodging, the less time that you'll need to spend on the shuttle and the more time you'll have to explore. So if you're going to book something in Springdale, I do recommend trying to get something near a shuttle stop or something with a good amount of parking, so that you can leave your vehicle and just catch the shuttle into the park most of the time. Number 4, Zion has a mandatory shuttle. Okay, so I already talked a little bit about the shuttle, but let's dig in a little bit deeper because this is a part of your Zion trip planning process that a lot of people don't think much about, but it's such a huge component to planning your trip to Zion and having a good time while you're there. Okay, so your Zion Canyon shuttle is required from March through November And then they add in a couple other weekends like in February and like over the holidays in December and January. So most of the time when you're in Zion, the shuttle will be running and you will be required to take it. And so how it works is the first stop of the shuttle is here at the Zion Canyon Visitor Center. And then it works its way up into this area, the Zion Canyon Scenic Drive, and there's a bunch of stops up in here. And so if you're hoping to do anything in the Zion Canyon Scenic Drive, you'll most likely have to take the shuttle to get there. So that includes things like the Emerald Pools, Angel's Landing, the Narrows. Any of that is accessed with the mandatory shuttle. As a side note, and where some of the confusion comes in, is there is parts of the park that you can drive to without the shuttle. And so if you want to enter the park here and instead of going up into the Zion Canyon area, you can veer over here and stay on the highway and go to the east side of the park, which is this whole area right here. And that area does not require the use of the shuttle. So you can drive from the visitor center over to Checkerboard Mesa and out without needing to take the shuttle. Where you'll really need to take the shuttle is just if you're wanting to get up into this area up here. So if you're wanting to get to any of those spots, those popular spots along the Zion Canyon Scenic Drive, just plan on using the shuttle. And what most people do is they park at the visitor center. The visitor center has a bigger parking lot, so you can park there and catch the shuttle from there. But be aware that that parking lot actually fills super early. And so if you're hoping to get in there and to catch the shuttle, you will need to be there at specific times or you just won't find parking. Another thing to note is that the town of Springdale has its own shuttle as well. And so you can catch the Springdale shuttle from anywhere throughout town. They've got it along that main street there, stopping at a lot of the most popular restaurants and hotels in Springdale. And that shuttle will take you to the Zion entrance, which is just within walking distance of the visitor center. So that's an option as well, but you will need to at least take the mandatory shuttle if you go during the peak season of the park. If you can effectively navigate the Zion shuttle, it makes a massive difference in your enjoyment of your time in Zion. And it makes it so that you can get to everything. If you're having to wait in lines or find parking and having trouble navigating the shuttle, it can make your trip really disastrous. And so I just want to emphasize that learning how to use the shuttle is a very important part of visiting Zion. And you'll want to have a good idea of how to use it and which stops need it so that you're not just confused and frustrated while you're in the park. If you need any help with this shuttle and knowing when you need to use it, which stops require it, where to park, some tips and tricks for finding parking and getting in the shuttle lines before they get too busy, or using even the Springdale shuttle to get to the right spot, then you can click on over to Dirt in My Shoes. I have a Zion National Park trip itinerary that you can use, and I will walk you through the entire process so that you don't have to guess and so that you don't have to feel the overwhelm of trying to figure out the Zion shuttle. Number 5, Zion is one of the most adventurous national parks in the country. I love Zion because there are just so many big adventures to have in this park, even more so than a lot of other national parks that you'll go to. And so there's just some really cool things you can do here. And that's part of the spirit and the personality of Zion is that you're there for big adventures and for getting out of your comfort zone. If you're looking for some unforgettable adventures while you're there, then you'll want to consider hiking Angel's Landing. This is a trail that takes you to the top of a giant monolith and you're holding onto chains that are bolted into the cliffs and you've got steep drop-offs on both sides. That's a really super cool one and one of the most popular trails in the park. You've also got the Narrows, which is a route through the river. And so you're actually hiking in the river through a slot canyon. Super cool. You've also got other slot canyons in the park, like the Subway. There are some lesser known slot canyons that you can canyoneer through. So canyoneering in Zion is a really big thing. And a lot of people like to come here and explore the slot canyons in the park. This park also has several really cool secret hikes, is what I like to call them. These are hikes that are not on the park brochure. These are hikes that most people don't know about. They're not marked, but they are trails that you can take to somewhere cool that a lot of people don't know about. If you're wanting to do some secret hikes, you'll find those in my Zion itinerary. And then there's a lot of biking and ATVing and stuff like that just right outside of the park. So this area of southern Utah has a huge outdoor culture. You can find lots of biking trails, lots of hiking trails, ATVing, anything like that, lots of canyoneering. And so if you're looking for any big adventures like that, then this park is perfect for those. I take my little kids to Zion and we have a great time, but I do think that this park is especially appealing if you have teenagers or older kids that are really excited about having some bigger adventures, because there are a lot of really unique things that you can do while you're in this park. Okay, there's the 5 things you need to know before you go to Zion. If you need any help at all planning your trip to this beautiful national park, click over to Dirt in My Shoes. There's a ton of free resources on there that will help you plan your dream trip to Zion National Park. And I hope that you have an amazing time.